Guys ready for some pie? Some humble pie? 30 days in the hole, baby. Let's go. Everybody, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. My name is Mark, and you have reached the Modest Audiophile channel. Yes, today we're going to discuss Humble Pie's fifth album, Smokin, 1972. This is what we're going to do today. If you're new to the channel, we're going to briefly go over the background of this album. We'll briefly go over the presentation, the condition, and all of that. And then we're going to get to what's important, how this thing sounds. Talk about some final thoughts, what this thing costs, is it worth it, is it not, and get you on out of here, okay? Let's go. So for the quick background of this album, Smokin is the fifth studio album recorded by Humble Pie. It was recorded at Olympic Studios in London, February of 1972, and it was released in March of 1972 by A&M Records. The album was Humble Pie's first following the departure of guitarist Peter Frampton, yes, that Peter Frampton, which placed singer and co-founder Steve Marriott as the band's de facto leader. Smokin is the band's best-selling album, due in large part to the success of the single 30 Days in the Hole. That's why I bought it. The other band members here are obviously Steve Marriott, lead and backing vocals, guitar, harmonica, and keyboards. Clemson also plays some keyboards, backing vocals, and he is the lead vocal on Oldtime Feelin. More about that in a few minutes. Greg Ridley, bass and backing vocals, and awesome bass on this album. Jerry Shirley plays drums and piano on You're So Good For Me. Some additional personnel on this album that I didn't know about, but I'm glad I do now. Alexis Corner, he does the vocals and plays a typo, a similar sound to a mandolin on Oldtime Feelin. Stephen Stills! Gosh, Stephen Stills creeps his way into just about anything that was going on in London in the early 70s. He has backing vocals on Hot and Nasty, and he plays on Roadrunner G Jam. Doris Troy does some backing vocals on You're So Good For Me, and Madeline Bell does backing vocals on You're So Good For Me as well. This was produced by The Pie. So this album here, I got it as a Christmas present this past year. I am a huge fan of the song 30 Days in the Hole. I saw that Analogue Productions came out with this late in 2024 on a 33 1/3 as opposed to double 45 RPM records. So the price on this thing is about $40. At least that's what it lists for right now. Cue the picture. So for $40, on a 33 1/3 album, this is right in the same price point as those new Rhino high fidelity records that are coming out. And I will say, just like any other Analogue Productions record, this thing fit. The presentation is fabulous. The record was flat. There are no pops, clicks, skips, or anything like that. Certainly gave it a nice wash in the Humming Guru once I got it. But as all the Analogue Production records that I have, yeah, this thing is as fabulous as those are as far as the overall presentation and condition. So for the album cover, yes, you have a black matte finish. Very difficult to get a fingerprint on here, which is nice. Thick Stoughton printing. The inside, look at that. I'll put some pictures up here in a minute. Those are great pictures. And the back side, right here. This was mastered by Kevin Gray from a 1/2-inch flat tape copy of the original master tapes. It's an all analog pressing, folks. It's pressed at Quality Record Pressings, Stoughton printing, tip-on gatefold jacket with recording session photos, the ones you are looking at right now, hopefully. Scuff-resistant matte finish cover with spot UV coating. And as I stated earlier, yes, so this is the fifth studio album released in 1972. So, right? How does it sound? That's what we're here for. Let's go. Alright, so this is how it sounds. Typically what I'll do is I'll run down I'll run down the tone stack, the bass, mids, treble, and then we'll talk about some thoughts, talk about soundstage and imaging, and depth. Let me talk about my overall thoughts on the album first, and then we'll talk about the tone stack, and then we'll get into the soundstage and imaging, and then we'll get into the songs and what tidbits I pulled out from those, give you my final thoughts, and get you out of here, okay? So, my overall thoughts on this record, a couple different things. One is that it is a very warm sounding record. Very warm sounding record, if I'm being honest. I'm having a hard time trying to really do a review on this record. I've listened to it now for 2 months. I've listened to it on 2 different sets of speakers. If you're a follower of their channel, you know that I got these Wharfedale Super Lintons about 3 weeks ago. Prior to that, I had the Wharfedale Denton 85th Anniversary Edition speakers. If you want to know what the rest of my system, please look in the description below. But overall, this record is definitely on the warm side. It's the overall soundstage sits back, meaning from the front of the speakers back towards the wall. There really isn't anything coming into the room. As far as the overall width of the soundstage, this one, it's really maxing out at around that 1.5 to 2 feet max left of the speaker here and right of the speaker over there. So the overall width of the soundstage isn't necessarily as large as a lot of my other records are. It doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the music, don't get me wrong, but the overall soundstage, to my ears, after listening to this again on 2 different sets of speakers over 2 months, literally just listening to it again about a half hour before I started this video, it's just a little bit smaller. And the depth of it, nothing's really jumping into the room per se, but you are getting some layering from the front of the speakers back towards the back wall. The overall band sits behind the front of the speakers, if that makes sense, okay? It's got more of a darker sense to it. Not muddy, but overall darker, which comes, with that overly warm sound. My system is pretty neutral. This is a very warm, darkish sounding album. So let's get to the tone stack. The bass is really outstanding on this thing. I'd say bass is forward, mostly in the center for the majority of the record. No issues following those great bass lines. Bass playing on this album is fantastic. So as far as the mids go, the vocals are really good. Steve Marriott's vocals, insane on this album. The guitars are nice and crunchy. There's a nice organ and some piano on here. I wish there was more presence. So for instance, that piano, I wish it was more in space. Like for instance, I did a review on the Faces Ooh La La, check it here, where that piano was in space, that was in the room with you. You don't get that sense here with this particular record. So it does not, to my ears anyway, there was not a lot of airiness, not a lot of, for instance, cymbal crashes you can hear, but everything was pushed back in the soundstage. I wish there were more presence in the album. Doesn't take away from the music, let me tell you. We'll get to that in a second here with some of these songs. I flipping love this album. And I didn't really know this album. As I like to say, I got it for 30 days in the hole, but I stayed for what I was trying to say is, I came for 30 days in the hole, but I stayed for I Wonder. I Wonder, we'll get to that in a few minutes on the second side of this album. Woo! What a freaking blues song that is. All right, more on that in a second. But overall, the tone stack, yes, it's definitely more heavy on the mids and the bass, not getting a lot of that airy sensation. Again, the cymbal crashes are more pushed back in the soundstage. Trebles are not a big thing on this album. Sorry. All right, now for some decibel level checks. The first song I did a dB check on was called Oldtime Feelin. It's the last song on side 1. And we have a low end of 70 decibels, a high end of 88, for an average of 81 decibels listening. And this is with my my Rotel integrated amp. It's the A11 Tribute, and that volume was set to 69. The next decibel level check I did, yeah, first song, second side, 30 Days in the Hole. Absolutely had to do that one. And that one had a low end of 65, high end of 87 for an average of 81 decibels. So again, not a ton of range on this album. Doesn't take away from the music, but I did not get that sense, and the decibel level checks certainly backed me up on that my ears weren't going crazy, that I didn't get another cold, that no, there's not a lot of dynamic range here, not a ton of punch. So side one starts with Hot and Nasty, and right away you noticed the bass, at least I did, and it's big and it's proud and it's present. It's right there in the middle, and everything else is kind of built around the bass. Not only in the song, but I think for the rest of the album, for the most part. The bass was forward, as forward as you're going to get in the soundstage. Like I stated earlier, the soundstage in image really starting at the front of the speakers and working its way back. I didn't know this at the time, but certainly listened to it after the fact. But yes, Stephen Stills, I guess, was working in the studio next door and kind of poked his head in and wound up on the album. He sings backing vocals on this song. And subsequently, on my latest listening, yeah, you can tell it's Stephen Stills with some of the background vocals. Good stuff. Song 2 is called The Fixer. Again, nice bass. Center, up front, heavy. Some nice cowbell back there on the left side of the soundstage as well. Buried, it's pushed back a bit, but it's definitely cowbell. Very nice. That goes into song number 3, You're So Good to Me. I put a check mark next to this, and I like this song. It's a good one. It starts off with some sweet acoustics. Not a lot of acoustics on this record. In fact, I think maybe only 2 songs. Yeah. This one started out with a nice acoustic coming out of the left side of the soundstage to start it, and then on the right hand side of the soundstage, second acoustic came in. Really nice. Nice change as well from the previous 2 songs, which were definitely more bass heavy. The song had a bit more bounce in its step, so to speak. Nice vocals I put center, and then the rest of the band follows suit. It's got that this song has a bit of gospel feeling to it. Starts off with, that slow acoustic, then the rest of the band comes in, and you do get that sense of church. You're getting that sense of gospel music. I like this song. This was an anomaly for the rest of the album. Really sounded good. A bit more, and I use these words lightly, a bit more airy, a bit more light in its approach. Just wasn't bass heavy, right, for the type of music that it was. So it really stood out for me on side 1. All right, coming in as the 4th song on the album is a song called Come On Everybody. This is an Eddie Cochran song. And the first 10 seconds or so, we'll call it the intro. Obviously, it predated AC/DC in 1972, but you do get that AC/DC-ish, yeah, easy for me to say, sound. And it only lasted for a little while in the beginning, but immediately I go, oh, that rhythm guitar driving sounds a lot like Malcolm. Great, I put here, great garage band rock and roll vibe, and I don't mean that disparagingly. Great, in fact, this song made me want to grab my guitar and plug it in and play with the band. It was a really good toe-tapping rock tune. Quite enjoyed it. Great, excellent guitar sounds I put. Foot-stomping music. The vocals pop on this one. The vocals are about as present as they're going to get of any of the songs on the record. Again, to my ears in this room, nice vocals. Yeah, like I said, makes me want to plug in myself. So that was Come On Everybody. Nice tune. All right, for the last song on side 1, which is definitely my favorite on side 1, really for me carries the first side for me. It's called Oldtime Feelin. And it's a great blues tune. In fact, more of that acoustic blues. But let me tell you a little bit about this song. Alexis Corner guests on the track Oldtime Feelin. Marriott's vocals take a back seat as the main vocals are provided by Clem Clempson and Corner, who also plays a Martin Tipple, T-I-P-L-E. Wasn't very familiar with that. It's a mandolin type guitar. Yeah. So this one is definitely more open sounding, and again, it's not as heavy-handed on the bass, being the type of music that it is. You get some nice piano, a little bit more acoustics on here. They pop within the soundstage as well. I like this song quite a bit. It just was not as dark as the rest of the first side. Great shared vocals, nice layering as well. As far as the soundstage and image goes on this record, this song was about as good as it got, certainly on side one. It wasn't getting much wider than the 1.5 to 2 feet outside the speakers, but I was definitely getting a bit more air in here, a bit more layered approach. The backing vocals in and amongst the lead vocal, excellent separation between vocals and the soundstage, and it did give that overall sense of depth, which is really nice on this song. Nice harp too. There's some great harmonica playing on this song. And last thing I'll say here, I love the acoustic guitar solo on this song. Really popped, very tasty, really made this song, and again, for me, yeah, it's probably my favorite song on the first side. Not taking away anything else, love it. Love the foot-stopping garage rock and roll band type of sound, but this last song really closed up side one very nicely. All right, on to side two. Hey everybody, just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for finding your way here. For whatever reason you clicked on the thumbnail and here you are. So thank you from me to you. If this is your first time here, yeah, I've got a little over 50 videos now. Take a look around. You might find something else you like. If you're a return visitor, thank you so much. If you would like to support the channel, hit like, hit subscribe. That would really, really help me out. But I really appreciate your help. All right, back to some more smoking from Humble Pie. Let's go. Side two starts with, you know it, 30 Days in the Hole. It's the reason I asked for the album. Always been a fan of this song before I even knew who the hell Humble Pie was. 30 Days in the Hole, never heard it better than I heard it here on this Analogue Productions 33 1/3 record. Yeah, really good. In fact, if you know the song, you know you get the band chatting in the studio. They get into a little a cappella singing. They have a little giggle fest, and then they get on to the rest of the song. Yeah, it was good. It was all that and then some, and I'm really happy I got this record for this song. It's the reason why I asked for it. You get great drums in this song. You got a nice shaker that you can hear very, very well within the sound stage. You can feel and hear the volume, and I don't mean volume as in decibels, I mean volume as in space. You can hear the space in the studio on this particular song, and I can't necessarily say that for the rest of the record. This one you can. This was a really, really good version of the song. Again, best I've ever heard. All right, on to the second/third song called Roadrunner and Roadrunner G-Jam. Typically, Roadrunner, this is a Junior Walker song, and then they were just jamming on it, and that's why you've got the second portion of this called Roadrunner G-Jam. And Stephen Stills did finagle his way onto this song too. It's a warm, funky, great organ, great bass, great groove of a song, and you get some nice depth, again, going back into the soundstage on this one. This was a lot of fun. If I haven't said it, I'll say it again. Side two on this record is, for me, it's the reason to get this album. Great side two. All right, we come out of that and go on to the next song called I Wonder. Did not know this song before, but it's why I'm sticking around. Yeah, I came for 30 days, but I'm staying for I Wonder. What a song. It's a blues tune. In fact, I would put it up there. I would put the guitar playing on this song right up there with the greats coming out of the British scene, right? So yeah, I'll put this up there against Clapton's blues. I'll put it up against Page's. I'll put it up against Green's from Fleetwood Mac. This one song. I'm not saying the band in general, but for this one song, oh my gosh, what a killer blues song. I thoroughly enjoyed this song. Outstanding. It's a journey. It's a religious experience, I put. Incredible vocals and blues guitar. You've got a section in which, coming out of a blistering guitar solo, the overall volume comes down a bit, and then blues harp harmonica solo comes in after that. Oh. So you're getting some real... I did not take a decibel level check and take the pictures and do all that, but it did have the best, and I should have, but it did have the overall best dynamic range of any of the songs on the album. Really, really nice song. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I did turn up the volume on this one a bit too, just to see if I was going to get anything more out of it. This song really loved a bump in the overall decibels. My last listen, I cranked this puppy up. The room was shaking, and this song got even better. So I Wonder, best song on the album for me. Check it out if you get a chance. If you don't own the album, go out there and stream it. Oh, what a great tune. You're going to wind up with the last song on the album called Sweet Peace and Time, and that's going back to what the rest of this album was. Great classic rock sound. Bass is back up in your face again. The darkness, the heaviness, the smoothness of the overall soundstage. Yeah, really nice last song to end the album. And in particular, the last 10 seconds of this song, I thought the guitar solo really popped as the song fades out. Really, really nice. So what are my final thoughts on Humble Pie's Smokin? Well, I'm a soundstage and imaging person mostly. That's really what drives me in this hobby. I love to close my eyes and get a 3D holographic image that blows my mind and makes me open my eyes and turn my head because I think somebody's come into the room or I heard something for the first time. It's not necessarily this. You are getting a good soundstage. You are getting good depth. You are getting good imaging. I think the overall recording is just on the darker side. But there are some moments on here. There are some great moments. And again, as I stated earlier, I came for 30 Days in the Hole, but I'm sticking around for I Wonder. That in and of itself was worth it to have for me. I'm very happy I have this album. So if you are a Humble Pie fan, yeah, go out there and get this from Analogue Productions. It's really well done. Presentation is killer, like we discussed earlier. Second to none. And at $40, well, it's just like Rhino High Fidelity's 33 1/3 RPM records that they're coming out with right now at $40 price point. $39.99. Same thing here. So it's in line as far as I'm concerned with the overall prices. If this thing were $60, no, I personally wouldn't get it at $60. $40? Yeah, pretty darn good. So that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's review. This was a difficult one for me to do. I don't know if it'll come through on the video, but yeah, I listened to this many, many times over the last 2 months, and I could never really get my finger on it. And then it just, everything clicked when I heard that song, I Wonder. So if you're a blues fan, if you're an early British rock fan, do yourself a favor. Go out there and find a copy of this. In fact, plan for yourself to have a little bit of time away from your role and responsibility in the family unit, because you deserve it. Kick back, find some time, put this thing on, or if you're not quite sure about it yet, go stream it, or maybe even look for an older copy someplace in your used record store. But most importantly, sit back and enjoy the music. This thing is about 40 minutes long as far as runtime goes. Go get your favorite beverage, maybe even a cookie or something to go with it. Turn the lights down a little bit in your listening room and enjoy the ride. Enjoy I Wonder. And then enjoy it again and again. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye.